information, which would be we don't have any correspondence for action or information, do we? Or page 3. Page 3, starting with request for decision. So the Salmon Beach maintenance recommendations, everybody has read this?
Yeah.
Okay, and the request, everybody's read this. I believe everybody would like to go forward with this maintenance recommendations. The only question I have within this is, I mean, MOTI gave ACRD permission to do accordingly. Like, I mean, we have a letter from them that the ACRD, they gave the provide transportation services for the Salmon Beach area. And I'm just wondering why we're going to MOTI again for why are we going to them? Because I mean, are we doing their standards or? Yes, Cal, please speak.
So, as you're aware, I have spoken with Minister Trevina about removing water access only to Salmon Beach. And the decision there was that that is the ministry, would not accept that because they felt that if they removed that water access only from Salmon Beach, then they would have to do road improvements all the way coming into Salmon Beach, not just the internal roads. And there, with that comment, one of the issues was also that the Salmon Beach roads are not up to Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure standards. So one of the things that staff is going to be trying to do is to contact and deal with the ministry with that understanding that if the roads to Salmon Beach are brought up to standard, and that would be a letter of understanding or an MOU memorandum, that in fact that they would be willing to proceed further with that. So I believe that the recommendation that the annual road maintenance plan provided by McGill be undertaken and that the 2021 Salmon Beach transportation budget is increased. So I leave that with you.
Okay. Yeah. So the ACRD will be working with the Ministry of Transportation to determine alternate options for the safe operations and maintenance standards of the Salmon Beach internal roads, right? That's what it states. I don't have a problem with approving this expenditure. We've been working on this for a few years of setting up a plan to fix the roads, the ditches, the culverts, all of that anyways. And this gives us a 5-year plan to work with. So my recommendation is that we accept this report we accepted the report before, but that we make a motion to go ahead with this. Jill?
I just have a quick question. With regards to the road maintenance tasks that are outlined here and the drainage maintenance tasks, I'm wondering how much of this is, if any, overlap with our maintenance contract that Ryan holds at the moment. The pothole patching and different things I'm seeing here. Is that to be taken away from his contract then going forward?
That's not even in his contract. He just does that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's just gone around and filled the potholes where some of the bigger ones are and stuff. I mean, he can't deal with the bigger ones that they do at the gate and stuff, but that's dealt with grading anyways. But
Mhm.
yes, it's not even in his contract to do pothole filling.
Okay, so the cleaning and inspection, so what you're saying is there's none of these items that are in his contract that we're currently paying for that we would be double paying for?
No,
Okay, thank
not
you.
any of these. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
So I would like to make a motion to accept this request and to go forward with this. Somebody second that?
I second.
Jill? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Hi.
Okay. Okay. Well, that was easy. Next. Okay, community water.
No,
Request for decision. No.
no,
Pretty well, I think this needs to be put on hold. We need to look at other options. This is a huge expense. There's no way it'll even make it through the community. Like, I mean, this is really expensive. So I think we need to put it on hold for further investigation. Terry?
So the amount that was talked about was, I think, 285,000.
Yeah, was the highest one, yes.
Right. So we were initially talking about a machine that would cost around 10,000, we thought.
Mm.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I don't know
mean, we didn't
how,
take- Mhm.
sorry, I don't know how we went from 10,000 to 285,000. That's my question.
Probably in some cases we're not aware of, I mean, there's a lot of rules and stuff with potable water. And just from what I've read in this and stuff, yes, there are some areas that I feel are probably way overpriced and stuff. But Ron has also come up with a suggestion that we might look at, and that is to bring in potable water and look at the cost of doing that instead of having to put in a filtration system and stuff, as in put in a holding tank and then do the the filling station kind of thing, and have our potable water hauled in by, say, Columbia Water or something like that. It
Oh,
would
that's
be another
interesting.
option.
Yeah, that's an interesting.
Yes, so that's why I feel we need to just put this on hold and do a little more discussing about it. So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Jenny, go ahead.
Thanks, Ellen. And for those who don't know me, I'm Jenny Brunn. I'm the interim manager of community services. So I don't have a lot of background in this, but water is my background. And one of the things I will caution you with as you talk about this new concept about hauling in water is that a lot of the concern with public water systems is the risk involved. If I understand correctly, most or a lot of people have storage tanks for water in Salmon Beach. So it would be there would be almost no liability or risk if you were looking to sort of group haul water, but it would go into individual tanks. And so it would be less, there's just less liability, because as soon as we put water into a central location, then we have to ensure that that water is safe. It is a source to tap protection thing, mostly because people get sick from water.
Yeah.
So it would be better if the water, then that risk kind of goes directly onto the hauler of the water and it stays off of the regional district, and you would save so much liability in that case.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
no.
I mean, yeah, I think we just put this.
My thought was have Columbia Fuel or Columbia Ice bring in 5-gallon jugs type of thing for purchase by individual lot owners. Did you hear me?
Well, that's another option too. Okay.
Okay,
But yeah, look, can we just put this one on hold and look
Reinvestigate.
at reinvestigate? So do we need some kind of motion to that, or
I just have a
somebody
little,
else?
I just have a little curiosity. I've noticed in the asset management plan, the water has been excluded from that plan now. So if we want to investigate further, is this management plan holding us away from doing that?
I don't
If
think
I can
so.
just speak,
No.
if I can just speak to that really quickly,
Sure.
the asset management plan, it only includes the assets we currently own. So it was excluded because we don't own any water related assets at this time. If we do acquire assets, or we know we're going to acquire assets, then they will be included. But for right now, there's none to include.
Okay, so it's not like, this is something that we can't develop because we've now excluded it, almost like an official community plan or something like that.
No, absolutely not. And it's a living document, so it's going to be revised and elaborated on, hopefully annually going forward. So, in the future, if something comes up, we can always add it. We can make amendments. We can change things. It's flexible.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Yes, Cal.
So, as a side, one of the requirements with whatever system you decide to go with must meet the standard for water, community water, whatever it happens to be. If you're going to haul bottled water in from whatever source, that's fine. That's up to the individuals. But if we're looking at doing any other type of system, then it has to be approved. And there are simpler systems out there that are approved as far as water management is concerned, but that's something that the committee would have to discuss with the regional district at whatever time, once research has been done on it. Anyway, thank you.
Okay. So yeah, do we need, okay, so we're going to put this in a hold. So do we need to make a motion to do that, or? Because we're not, I would like to make a motion that we investigate other options for
Second.
water, for potable water.
I second
Jill
that.
seconded. All
I
in
second
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Okay. Oh, I lost my agenda.
Sorry.
Yes, Jenny.
Just one comment. So I appreciate that motion, but one thing that the report did identify is that the staff resources aren't currently available to invest in that. So I just wanted to, I guess, put that because as far as managing expectations for the committee and the community, I want to make sure that you guys realize that it's a lot of time and energy to start looking into options that might be helpful for Salmon Beach at the moment. So I guess that was just my caveat. We're short on resources at the moment.
So
Yeah, okay, so we would need to budget that for 2021 is what you're saying? Okay, yes.
Well, and even with that, budget is okay, but budget doesn't necessarily equal staff allocation. So
Yes,
we can
okay.
hope for the staffing component. Yeah.
Can we not look at it ourselves?
I don't think
Yes.
there's anything you guys from doing your own investigation. And then I think this report highlights, John did a really good job of highlighting the needs. So when you are doing the investigation, just making sure that there's a lot of liability risk. And when it comes to community managed assets, we do have to make sure that we're meeting the health requirements and the regulatory requirements. So at some point, obviously staff will have to get involved, but the preliminary research and looking at options, by all means.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Okay, what is next? Oh, Where are we?
Tricia Bryant will do a presentation on
Yes.
asset management.
Yeah. I know, I lost myself on the agenda. Tricia.
Okay, so I'll just start by introducing myself. I'm Tricia Bryant. I'm the Asset Management Coordinator at the ACRD, if you haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet. But I'm going to attempt to share my screen. I had some technical difficulties this morning with PowerPoint, so just bear with me. Okay. So can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's got to be Adobe because that's all of today. Okay, so this is just a review of the asset management plan that is on the agenda. So there was a slide. This slide was part of the asset management introduction presentation I did last year, but just as a refresher, the ACRD follows the Asset Management BC frameworks for sustainable service delivery. We began the process in the assess phase by gathering and analyzing all the necessary data. And then in the plan phase, we've developed an asset management policy and strategy, and now the asset management plan. Our next steps will be to implement the changes noted in the plan and to create a long-term financial plan prior to starting the process over again for version 2. And the services included in this plan are sewage, security, garbage, recreation, and transportation. And as I mentioned previously, we have excluded water because there currently are no assets associated with the service, and power has been transferred to BC Hydro for capital replacements. Based on 2020 dollars, the Salmon Beach services included have a current replacement cost of approximately $865,000. This is based on historical costs and industry estimates. Future replacement costs at the asset's expiration dates total approximately $1.2 million. Currently, each parcel in Salmon Beach equally contributes to all services for a total parcel tax of $785, equaling $295,000 in total contribution. The recommended contribution per parcel based on the future replacement costs of assets is $947 per parcel for a total contribution of $351,200 annually. And this amount is subject to change as asset data evolves. Based on the current age and condition, the septic truck is due for replacement in 2023 at approximately $200,000. And this amount is based on a smaller truck than the current truck in service, as it's believed the smaller truck will not affect levels of service and will be easier to maneuver in the community. The playground is due for replacement, but it's recommended that an inspection be performed prior to replacement. And a playground of similar size will cost approximately $60,000 in 2020 dollars for replacement. And currently this year we have $25,000 budgeted for a new gravel playground base. And there are a few items that I described in the asset management plan that could affect future plans and the Salmon Beach community. So first, the internal roads at Salmon Beach were not constructed or not accepted as constructed by MOTI, but are on right-of-way. This means that we are liable if there's an incident that results from the current state of the roads. Significant improvements are required, as we've discussed, and we estimate those to be $250,000. Second, the gate at the entrance is on right-of-way. The gate has been discussed recently with MOTI, and they state that they reserve the right to ask for the gate to be removed at any time, but currently do not have any issues with its usage. Third, the bridge on 4th Avenue is also on right-of-way. Typically, MOTI is responsible for replacements of structures within right-of-way. However, because we are in charge of road maintenance and the roads were never accepted as constructed, the ownership of the bridge is currently gray, and we're aiming to have this issue cleared up before the issuance of version 2, with any possible increases in contribution noted in that version. And last, the water service is in the development stages, and there's currently no associated assets. So if we do acquire assets, as I said, they'll be included in the future versions. So in this plan, we have the sea cans, the dock, all 4 pilings, the boat ramp, sandy dump, septic fields, garbage bins, playgrounds, tennis courts, picnic huts, and septic truck water trailer, reservoir, fencing, security gate, and the consideration for capital contribution towards roads. So you will have noticed this table in the plan. The contributing service states which service area the asset belongs in. The current replacement value is based on historical and industry data, and the annual contribution required is based on the future replacement value at expiration, divided by the estimated service life remaining in the assets. Assets that are nearing the end of their lives will have a higher annual contribution towards replacement. The current capital reserve balance is just over $300,000, which can be used to slightly reduce the annual contribution required. And this graph shows the current contribution in red, the recommended contribution in orange, the capital costs expected based on service lives shown in blue, and the capital costs budgeted shown in green. The difference between the actual and recommended contributions is typically referred to as a funding gap. And because Salmon Beach doesn't have any other forms of income aside from pump and hauls, the contribution rates may seem higher because they also account for annual contribution operations and maintenance costs. Generally, if funding gaps aren't addressed and closed, they will continue to grow. And this graph shows the current replacement costs of assets based on their conditions. And if a specific condition was not known, then the age based on the expected service life was used. And I spoke with the previous manager of environmental services and the current interim manager, and we've outlined the most high-level risks to the community. Those risks are lack of road access in an emergency when water access isn't an option, such as a storm event, the liability that's assumed from taking over the road maintenance, wildfire or structure fire with a lack of fire coverage, an environmental issue with the wastewater, a tsunami or seismic event that could result in the community being inaccessible, and the response times in an emergency due to the remoteness. These risks will be given a risk factor based on a matrix and input into a general risk framework, and where possible, those risks will be mitigated. And on a more asset-specific level, these replacements or capital works required have been ranked based on a risk factor. The total high-risk asset replacements total approximately $510,000 in 2020 dollars, including road repair works previously mentioned. The total current replacement costs for all assets with an increased risk factor totaled approximately $616,000. And at the end of each asset management plan is an improvement plan that outlines the activities that will ideally be completed prior to the adoption of the next plan. Within this improvement plan is a plan to include the required road maintenance in the 2021 budget and execute the plans as prescribed by McGill and Associates. Determine the ownership of the 4th Avenue Bridge and budget for the capital replacement if required. Perform a playground inspection and adjust replacement timelines accordingly. Implement documented condition assessments to be used to fine-tune replacement timelines for all assets. Ensure that the 2021 budget includes the capital replacements outlined in this plan in order to begin to close the funding gap. Monitor asset-specific maintenance costs to identify areas that may be failing sooner than expected. And finally, identify any funding possibilities for capital projects. And that's all I have for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Perfect.
Can we get a copy of that to post on our website, please?
Sure. Yeah, I can send one out.
You've got it in, you've got that
Got it.
in your handout
Agenda.
you received.
Oh.
And it's in the agenda.
I know I wanted
It's
a
in the
digital
agenda that
copy.
you got.
I want the PowerPoint.
Oh,
Yeah, I can send that.
Thanks.
there you go. Okay. I make a motion to adopt this as presented.
Second.
Second, Ron. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. No discussion. Okay. Okay. Advisory, okay. Projects update summary.
Ellen,
Yes,
can I ask a question about the playground?
yes, Terry?
So the playground was originally
Yeah.
built with money that was fundraised by the community. So I understand that it's still an asset, but
Yes.
is it something that we automatically would pay to replace in the future if it needed to be replaced? Or would we fundraise again?
It would be replaced, it would be replaced, no, it would, when you fundraised for it, and then put it in, it became an asset for the ACRD because it's on ACRD land. So we can tax it to replace it in the future. We don't have to fundraise to do it. But if we wanted to fundraise to do it, we could do that too. But yes, when you build something on their land, it becomes their asset. Yes, Jill.
I just wanted to ask
Jill?
Ron, I just wanted to ask Ron, I'm curious that the playground equipment itself got a high risk for replacement. I hadn't heard conversation that the equipment itself was in poor condition. I know the gravel had to be replaced, but the items themselves, are they at high risk, Ron, in your opinion?
Not in my opinion, no.
So-
I did, I sort of did like I'm not licensed inspector anymore.
Mhm.
I was when I worked for the school district. So when I did the gravel, it was, I felt that it needed to be replaced because
Yeah.
somebody was going to get hurt. I checked all the swing joints, all the playground equipment that's there, and I don't feel that it's in bad shape.
So
But-
Tricia,
Okay,
sorry.
just hold on a minute. We now have, the ACRD now has a licensed playground inspector, and I met him the other day. I believe his name's Mike Jenny. I can't remember his last name. And he will be inspecting the playground once the gravel is all done and looking at it to see if anything he felt, I mean, just from a view, he, felt it looked good, but he will do a full inspection of it and make recommendations as to what needs to be done.
Okay.
Okay. What?
So-
Yes, Jill.
So Tricia, we still have input as to when things are going to be done. Like I see, that's a good example. That's got a high replacement risk, but the committee still will have input as to whether that's actually the fact or when these things should be done. If they're not, in fact, I would have thought that should have at least been a moderate risk. But again, Ellen, you're right. If we've got somebody outside that's going to have a look at it, then we're going to know better. But that's just one area of concern that I have where, things are being labeled one way when the committee should have input as to what, feet on the ground actually looks like.
Yeah, if I can just speak to that point, it was given the rating that it was given because of its age. And a lot of playground equipment, I think there may be an industry standard for replacement simply because it's a safety risk. Let's say that they say playgrounds shouldn't last more than, 15 years or whatever the number is. I don't know offhand, but I'd have to look. But I think it was nearing that age where they recommend that things are replaced simply because of the inherited risk factor. Yes.
And that may be so. We are a seasonal community. It isn't a high use area. So I guess I'm more speaking to the idea that we will still be having input, that we're not going to just take this report verbatim without input on what's actually happening at Salmon Beach with all of these items. That we would still be having input and decision-making collaboration as to when things are going to be done, what actually needs to be done, and when it needs to be done.
Yeah, the plan is just meant to be a guideline.
Okay.
But what actual versus guideline, they can differ.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Tricia. Cal. Cal, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks through the chair. With our new new person that's been hired, Mike. I think it might be appropriate too, that if he's out there checking things out, if Ron is available, that perhaps he could sidekick with him. And as Ron mentioned, he was an inspector when he was with the school board. So I think I think it would be an asset for Ron to be involved in it, just to have a look-see and provide comment on that. And thank you.
Thank you.
Terry,
Just seeing as we're talking
Terry.
about playground, I'm wondering when the gravel will be replaced.
Is
People
being
are-
done as.
it's
it is
being done right.
Is it?
It's being done as we speak.
Good to know.
So
Thank
it
you.
is happening. Yes.
Good,
yes.
good.
Yeah, and Mike will not be inspecting it until that is finished. He will come back out and check it then. Okay, so if Jenny can just let us know when he's coming, please, then if Ron's here, he can meet with him. We'll try to make it work. Okay, thank you. Okay, on to Salmon Beach projects update summary. Septic upgrade. Where are we still waiting on Tokort for a letter, or what is happening there? So
I'll let John speak
Jenny?
to that. Also, John, I
Okay,
think I might be seeing Marianne this afternoon, so I can follow up with that. But please go ahead and give an update.
Yeah, okay, basically everything is ready to go. We have our drawings from
Yeah.
H2O Environmental. So we have our design. So yeah, we're just waiting for a application process from the Tokwak. Apparently they have
Okay.
a system for giving out permits to work on their land. And they apparently
Okay.
don't have a permit process for this project. So it's a kind of a formality on their end to try to figure out how to get a permit for us. But when I did talk to them, they did say that they probably will be asking for some sort of environmental review of how it might affect their shellfish fishery offshore. So we're just waiting on them right now.
Okay. So will we be having this done by spring, do we hope?
I have no idea.
Like,
So,
I think
because, I mean, Jill?
so yeah,
Go
I'm just, so we had a letter of approval last year that there were no problems with going forward with this repair. And so the permit now and the environmental review, is this something new since we've already had the approval, or?
I think what it is because we're starting a new project with the this new septic system, is that we needed to get a permit from them. The existing permit that we had or agreement we had with them was for the septic field installation. So this is a new project, and they have a new process for approving use of their land.
But is it a new project though? Because doesn't it form part of what we had approval for last year? Like, I just wonder if we can check into our paperwork, and what we're asking for isn't actually something new. It forms part of what the agreement was that we had to repair.
Yeah, I can understand.
Jenny?
I can understand that. And I looked at that also, but we have already started down this process of asking their permission to do this. So I don't know if we can go back and just do it now after we've already started the
But
process.
I'm just wondering
Yeah,
if,
okay, just hold on, Jill. Jill, we had to ask permission because of COVID to go onto the land again. And I believe if the COVID thing hadn't come up, with the original agreement, we probably could have just gone ahead. But we had to ask for new approval because of COVID
well,
and their
and
declaration of emergency.
And that may be so, but then it's a COVID approval and it's not approval for a brand new project. So I think we need to be careful and clear on what it is we had, the layer that COVID, announced, and what we still have, and what does it look like with COVID. And I think those are very different things. And to label this a new project, when we, in actual fact, I was at the meeting where we were given the approval. It seems that we're being caught in a back eddy here on something that we already had approval from. And I'm not sure, John, if we can revisit this from that perspective, and just say, this is the history, this is the documentation. May we go forward with this remediation?
Jenny, you want to speak? Go ahead.
If I may, if I understand this project correctly, and I'm just jumping in, what we're looking to install is actually enhanced treatment. So as the system currently exists, it is completely functional to manage the wastewater in Salmon Beach. Am I correct, John?
That's correct, yeah.
So this project is going to allow enhanced treatment, which will just extend the life of your existing septic fields. In which case, I appreciate all that's being said. However, there isn't really any urgency in putting this in, and which is wonderful because it provides time to build relationships and make sure that everyone is happy with this. Truthfully, because really this could be 5 years before it goes in, it would have minimal to little impact on the lifespan of your septic field. I don't expect that timeline at all. But I think that when we're dealing with so many people, it's sometimes better to take it slow, especially if there is no urgency.
So,
Jill.
so this was actually, Cal, and correct me if I'm wrong, in the actual original drawings, Jenny, and this is something that's, we're nearing the first term of a 10-year agreement. So this is not something new, and it's not something that doesn't, in my opinion, have no urgency. Without proper, maintained, and taken care septic system, we don't have a Salmon Beach. So for me, septic is utmost in its care and provision to the community. When we know that we can do better, and it is in the original plan, we as a committee must do better for our community. And to say, it's not that big a deal, it's a 5-year plan, and please receive this with all due respect, you're new here. I don't agree with that. I think that we need to be responsible with our septic, and we need to be responsible with our neighbors. And we have built and are continuing to build and want to build an extremely good relationship with our neighbor folks. And for me, that is why it is of the utmost important that we maintain this and have it working to the utmost of its ability now, and not when there's a problem coming up. I'm really adamant about that. Cal, can you speak to that?
Can I just jump in here? I'm usually very quiet, but this time of the year is not usually a problem to having your tank pumped out. It's now 7 to 9 weeks. That's unprecedented this time of the year. And I was looking down here just below me. Just in my little area here, there's going to be 5 new tanks being put in the next few weeks. It is coming to a state of emergency. There are people I know that are not coming up to the beach because they can't get it pumped out. It is it's in a terrible state right now with the waiting.
Yeah, it's not a leisurely project. I'm sorry.
John, just hold on a minute. John, when
Yes.
this is done, is it going to up the capacity that can go into the septic field? That's the question.
No, it won't.
It won't change capacity.
It will not change
It's just
capacity.
going to make it run. Okay.
It just make it cleaner water going in. So it's better for the environment, basically. And better for
So it's
longevity.
going to make it, it will make it last longer and it will improve. Okay. So it's not going to make any difference to capacity. It's just going to make it more efficient
Correct.
and last long. Okay. Jill.
I think we are going to address.
Jill?
I think we are going to address capacity in Ryan's contract. There's discussion about the amount of pumps that he can do if the contract is changed. For me, it's not about that change happening with this remediation. It's about the utmost operational of that system, and particularly with the environment. I would think we would want to do this as quickly as possible. And I don't know if it would take a meeting with First Nations or just a revisit on what it is our intention with that land and with good stewardship that we might move forward with this. Thank you.
Can I speak, please?
Terry, yes.
Plus, did we not do a study prior to putting together, having the company put this plan together for our septic field? And if we wait to have this done in the future, we're going to have to do another study and spend more money, and it just goes round and round.
Yeah.
And we have a current plan, and we were prepared to proceed with it. And it sounds to me like we just need to have some communication with TOQUAD and try to proceed with this project as we had planned.
Noah has been to the field, and I have not heard that this is in a back eddy or any kind of a back burner. So John,
No, they did do an inspection at the field, right, John? Noah, you had a meeting at the septic field with the Tokort Nation, Noah being
did.
one of them?
I did.
Yeah,
Noah.
and this is yes, and this was what came out of this meeting is that they wanted a permit, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
And
So,
we're waiting
I
for
mean-
them to give us the permit to fill out for them.
Okay. Well, I mean, personally, I don't think, yes, we would like it done as quick as possible. It would be nice to get it done as quick as possible. But when it comes down to it, if they want a permit, we will be giving them a permit. So, Jill.
I understand that, but my query is, can we not revisit that the approval was already there? I understand that procedures change going forward, but the approval was already there. And I'd like to ask respectfully if we could move forward with the agreement that we had, and understanding that in future that any other projects of that nature must have a permit. But I do believe sincerely that we already had that approval based on the meeting I attended. Thank you.
Yes.
speak?
Oh, yeah. Ron.
Okay,
Ron.
wasn't this whole thing done as a two-phase project?
It was.
So the
Yes,
first
and it
phase
was
is
approved
complete.
as-
We're
Yes.
doing the second phase. So that second phase should have been approved at the very beginning. Am
Yes.
I not?
That is
It
correct.
was.
And so, John, I wonder if
It
we
was
could
approved.
revisit this.
Sorry, what was the question?
I'm just wondering if we can revisit this based on the information that you're receiving from us as a committee with regards to the history of where the meetings and the understanding was about this project. It is not a new project. And so I'm just wondering if we, together with you or you on our behalf, can just revisit that based on the history that we're telling you, and allow us to move forward here and do what's right for that system, for our neighbors and for our community. Thank you.
Yeah, I
Jenny?
think. Okay, Jenny, go ahead.
Sorry, if I may, John has been doing his utmost to follow up with TOCORD on this.
Yeah.
So I know he will take what has been said here, and in his next communication with them, he will discuss that. He's been at this actually, and I'm copied in on the email. So he is working diligently on this, and I think he will absolutely take in everything that's said, and in the next discussion, that will be a point for sure. So, and we'll update
Okay.
you as possible.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, let's
Very-
move along. Solid waste, recycling, garbage, composting. I think this is Jenny's area.
It is. Thank
Mhm.
you. So through the chair, I just wanted to bring this up as a quick discussion point. So as you probably are aware, we're working at organics diversion for the entire region. And as such, we want to look at Salmon Beach. So the big projects we have is phase 1, which is working with the city of Port Alberni to get curbside diversion. Phase 2, which is the West Coast curbside collection for the existing service areas. Salmon Beach is not included in that. And then phase 3 was to get electoral areas in the Alberni Valley and Bamfield on board. Now, we have grant funding for this, and depending on how the project rolls out, I think that there might be funding to look at Salmon Beach as well. And I know that you guys have expressed interest in recycling as well and upgrading that system. So what I asked and what we're starting to investigate right now is what would it look like if we basically upgraded Salmon Beach for compost, recycling, those things. There's a lot that has to be done. It'll have to be bear proofed. And even if we do have grant funding to put into that, we'll still have ongoing maintenance costs, just like garbage hauling costs every year. And if we add recycling hauling costs, that would be another, as well as the compost hauling costs. But the grant funding could pay for the capital infrastructure, which would probably be a covered shed and a new fenced area with electric fencing. So there is significant opportunity here. I asked for a rough estimate and came back for about $70,000 it would cost to do the full build out for that. But I wanted to inquire with the Salmon Beach Committee on sort of your interest and support for that, and whether we want to continue to look at the details. I'd have to come back and let you guys know what the annual cost would be, because I think that's the bigger concern. It's easy to put infrastructure in the ground, but then as Tricia pointed out, you have to then put money aside to replace that infrastructure. So it's always a big decision when you take on new businesses. So I wanted to sort of put that to the committee to hear some feedback.
Jill,
Jill,
go ahead.
Thank you. I'd be most curious to know what the annual cost to the beach, to the community would be once the infrastructure is in place before I could make any comment on that.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
are very interested in doing something like this, but it would also be cost. I mean, if it's outrageously expensive, no, we're not going to do it. But I mean, if it's something that is cost feasible, it will also cut down on the amount of regular garbage that goes out of here. So our tipping fees would also go down too. So there would be that advantage. So, but yes, an idea of what the yearly cost would be good. Kel, go ahead.
Through the chair to Jenny, could you give staff or give the committee a percentage as to what we've discovered and how much of the actual garbage that's being dumped is actually food waste?
Through the chair, that's a great question, Kel. So, and good points. I think when we're looking at annual costs, it has to be holistic because, as Kel mentioned, usually, and it depends, Salmon Beach could be different, and we'd want to do a quick audit to see if you guys are reflective, because you just never know, right? Everyone is unique sometimes. But typically, 30% of the waste is organics, so that would be able to go into the compost. And then recycling could be really high because there is no services here, but typically we're finding about 30% is recycling. In theory, that means that, you've got a fixed garbage, and instead of, hauling all of that at once for that cost, you just split it into 3 streams And so your costs are only marginally higher. Again, Salmon Beach is really unique, so it would be interesting to look at the details when we start running the real numbers.
Jill,
Um,
Jill, go
thank-
ahead.
Thanks, Ellen. Jenny, we have a significant problem at the moment just with the management of the garbage that we are receiving because people are not respectful. I was a little bit concerned when I heard you say that we're going to be responsible to divide it up ourselves and put things in the proper places. And I have very little faith in the self-management of that properly. And I'm not sure if you have experience with other communities and you find this to be something that works. But for us, the garbage has been a real challenge.
Through the chair, one of
Yes,
the benefits.
but you have to remember. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Jen.
Sorry, Ellen. One of the benefits with Salmon
That's
Beach is
okay.
that I believe most people who come here are actual homeowners. And once you know what your system is at home, it's actually pretty easy. And once you get people on board, education is key, and getting buy-in as to why you're doing it and trying to provide an incentive. It is more challenging when it's centralized. In Bamfield, we have the centralized transfer station and there's recycling. So they, at the moment, only have the recycling and the garbage. And some people are better than others. And it will always be the case until you do curbside. And I can't imagine you guys wanting curbside collection in Salmon Beach.
No, but you do make a good point. Most people that come here are doing exactly the recycling, the composting, and everything at home. My mother's in an apartment building, and most apartment buildings don't necessarily do this, but they have a composting container there and they all compost, and they have recycle, and they have garbage. I mean, yes, they have to take it out themselves. That's not like, so I mean, if we set something like this up out here, most people know the program and they just have to put it in bins. So, I mean, I think we would probably have at least half of our people willing to do it properly. So, Terry, go ahead.
Yeah,
Terry?
I think part of the problem is accountability at the beach, because we are not a full-time residence community, and people come and go, and
Yeah.
when they go, they don't really care what happens after they've left. Hence, we have things like
that's for some
drywall in our garbage bin and couches and other barbecues.
That's because they don't want to drive the hour to the dump is the biggest problem with that. So, yes, Cal. Cal, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for that. Through the chair. So, you know, as Jenny mentioned, I think one of the key components to this whole process is education. And, you know, I, for one, when Karen and I are at Salmon Beach, 99% of the time when we are leaving, we take our garbage home. And the reason we do that is because we have in the regional district, the RDN, we have the system where, you know, they come once a week, and your food waste is gone once a week. We split up our food waste, we split up our recyclable and all that, and that's why we take it home, because we know that it's being taken care of. For us, it's an education stream that we follow diligently, and you know, it's something that we just have to press on with. I believe at Salmon Beach, and hopefully, you know, people will soon realize that if they don't follow those procedures, that they're going to be paying more for taxes and lot fees than they could even imagine. So let's just keep our heads in it and keep pushing forward and promoting it and doing upgrades to that area. We know that there are individuals out there who, as Terry just mentioned, that don't care, and that's really unfortunate. But I think we, you know, going forward, we just have to keep pursuing that, doing things the right way. Anyway, thanks for that.
Mm-hmm. And that's where we would like, has the ACRD come up with a policy for cameras yet? Because we would like to be able to have cameras at our recycling or garbage bins to keep people honest as to what they're doing. And we were waiting on a policy for that. So does anybody know whether that policy has been set yet? Jenny?
Well, I'm actually not sure where we're at with that.
I could probably speak to that.
Wendy.
Yeah, so we were working on developing a policy, but nothing has been developed yet. There has to be a good reason for videoing people, so we'll have to come back with a report on, you know, if the committee is able to even do that. So we'll try and bring something back for the next committee meeting.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Jenny's just, oh, lost Jenny's picture. There she is. There's this Tofino Urban Farms to investigate option for local collection. Is that part of what we were just talking about?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So
For you.
I lost you. Okay. Okay, the brush and debris removal this year has been costly, we know. It's something that's going to cost us every year, like it or not. So, and because of what was happening in the past, the decision was made, it's our problem, so we need to keep doing it. Maybe we need to have a line item in our budget specifically to this instead, because I mean, right now, I believe it just comes out of, not even sure what part of the budget it comes out of. I think it comes out of grading because that's budgeted quite high. So anyways, but yeah, that's something, I mean, it's here, not there. I mean, yes, it's expensive, but it's something that's ongoing every year. So, okay. Entrance gate codes, the gate from hell. You have a couple of recommendations on here about changing gate codes. Having it as one code for all, I don't think would be something that the community would go for. Yes, I know it's costing us money with the ACRD employees managing the delegation of gate codes. And I mean, really, this came about because we decided to lock the gate 24/7 due to COVID. And there's possibility at some point we'll go back to the old way, but which then, because of that 24/7, so many people didn't remember or didn't use their gate codes properly or didn't have gate codes. So, and I know, but I mean, I figure by this point, most of them should have gate codes. And most of the ones that, it's quite funny because they'll say, well, my code's this and it doesn't work. And you write it down, you go and check it, and yes, it does. So it's operator error in a lot of cases. So, and yes, cost of the gate is, yeah, from your cost breakdowns and stuff. So what does everybody think of what we need to do with the gate? So I want input here. Jill.
I don't think,
Jill, go ahead.
yeah, I'm here. Thank you, Ellen. I don't think one universal number for everyone is a good idea, because that means everyone in the community. At least when we're on an individual basis, it sort of stays that idea that anybody and everybody can get in. The other thing I wanted to just address from the report was that, you know, we were talking about, you know, roughly $38,000, but that's over a 10-year period. So that's actually $3,800 a year. So I didn't really see the, you know, the, I didn't really agree with the point that it was up substantially. It's only $4,100, and it's up to $4,100 because this is the first year it's been closed more than opened. So, you know, I think for us to just carry on with what we've got going on, and maybe look at in the bigger picture, you know, is there a better type of gate for us? Do that kind of an investigation. But I think for myself, I'd just like to see it left the way it is.
Okay, to answer that part of it, Ron and Kel have been looking at upgrading components on the gate to sturdier components, less breakdowns, less problems.
Yes.
So, I mean, that would be my recommendation for the gate. I mean, the gate itself is perfectly fine.
Yes.
It's the arms, it's the components that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
That is not something that we would be able to do right now, but we could budget to do that in 2021, and we have a lot of capital reserve and security that could be used to update that those components on that gate.
Mm-hmm.
And then hopefully, because a lot of the the three big expensive ones with having the gate guy come out were the more of the computer stuff in it, or
Right.
whatever they're called. But the gate arms and stuff we fixed internally ourselves, because this bill would have been a lot more if we'd had to bring them out for those ones too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Jill?
Thanks.
Jill, go ahead.
Thank you, Ellen. I just wanted to say that for this past season, there was a significant amount of transient traffic came out to the West Coast. There were problems in the woods everywhere. And this gate is imperative to our property at Salmon Beach as a community, and to stay transient folks coming in. So if we can just protect what we've got, I think that's really the voice I've heard from the community.
Yeah. Yes, and Jenny and I discussed that the other day when I met with her, and yes, you know, that is part of the reason, and there is a huge transient population out here right now. I mean, hopefully they'll go away once they realize how bad the winters are out here, but you never know. Anyways, so yes, Kel, go ahead. Kel?
Yeah, thanks for that. Through the chair, as you mentioned, you know, I've talked to Ron about the situation with the gates, and I've also spoken to Ryan. And it appears that the components that open the gate, and I'm talking about the mechanical arms, that there are options out there, and I'm quite happy to take a consultant out there at no cost. To have a look at it, and his recommendation. I have some information already for replacement of those parts, which are, you know, modern, up to date. The fluid drives on the existing arms are out of date, and I think that if we look at something new, and I'll bring that forward to the committee once this fellow comes out, and then you can make a decision based on the information that I'll put forward to you. Anyway, I think it's a positive step going forward, and I do agree that keeping these gates in good working order for the community, it's sort of peace of mind as well. And as you're aware, over this last period, and we've experienced this. People coming in from all over the country, from back east, and squatting on land. And I know that the Toquat Nation is quite concerned, as are the Taloquiat and in behind the national park, when they were talking in terms of hundreds, if not thousands of people squatting there.
Mm-hmm.
My own personal experience was right at the top of the hill outside the gate, going to a meeting with Heather Zenner and our other consultant with regards to the emergency operations program. And people camp right there in the road openly. When I went in the morning for the meeting, I there was some dismay there because of what I was seeing. And when I came home in the afternoon, there was garbage left there, and then to me that's pretty distressing. And it just so happened that because the gate was open, there was 3 individuals down at the end of 6th Avenue in front of my property, or our property. And when I asked them about the mess, they said, "Oh no, it wasn't us." I said, "Well, it was your vehicle that was parked there." And he said, "No, it was the other people." And one of the young women that was with him said, "Yeah, okay, we'll pick it up." And I didn't see that, but anyway. So the gate during COVID times in particular is key for the community safety. And that's the information I have. Thank you.
Yeah. So yes, I think we'll look to upgrade some of the components of the gate so that we don't have the breakdowns that we've had this past year. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, is that everything on gate, people? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, contracts, maintenance contracts. This is where, I mean, we need to discuss. Pump and Haul this past year has, there's been, from the end of April to now, there probably hasn't been less than 45 people on the list for Pump and Haul. So, which puts us basically at like 6 to 8 weeks out. Our recommendation is to change the maintenance contract to cover 5 instead of the 3 days a week Pump and Haul. We would request to change the contract to cover 5 days a week Pump and Haul for approximately 3 pumps a day, if the capacity for
Quit clicking your phone.
Oh, sorry, it was my pen.
Yeah.
I'm clicking my pen, sorry. So if we can do 3 a day, 5 days a week would be, I think, what we need to go to, because that would alleviate that problem. So, Jill.
Thank you,
Jill,
Ellen.
go ahead.
Thanks, Ellen. I'm wondering if we can set another meeting to specifically talk about this contract. Ryan has some suggestions that I think are good suggestions, but we need to have a look at the cost of, his increased Pump and Haul and the types of jobs he might need to let go of. So is this something that we can schedule for a specific meeting on just this contract or these contracts?
Jenny?
That's interesting. So in my involvement in other committees, usually operational level items like this are left to staff. And I'm not sure if, perhaps the best form is for John to actually discuss this with Ryan. Like if he's got some suggestions, to maybe get that information from him. We could also look at if we could try and find other contracts. The Pump and Haul is an interesting one too, because maybe instead of making it a fixed day, it is on demand. And I don't know, because I don't know how much your demand fluctuates from season to season. So there's lots of really interesting points that you bring up. Sorry, but
our demand fluctuates. Go ahead. Go ahead, Jen.
So
no, the demand,
Quit interrupting.
Okay, I'll just talk. Sorry, it's the we obviously are having a little challenge there, but so I think that maybe the best next best step is for the contracts that are coming up is to take a look at them. John can talk with Ryan to get that information, and then also maybe as members of Salmon Beach, if you wanted to, you could send an email if you have other suggestions on changes that you wanted, and we could send that in, and then maybe just compile that and look at what adjustments might look like, and then the cost implications, the potential ones, and
Yeah.
looking at some contract language, and then bring that back at the next meeting.
Okay. Okay, yes, because in the past, when it comes to these setting this contract and stuff, we have been involved in it. So the committee itself has been involved in what things need to be in it, what things don't need to be in it. Like, we've had some input into it, and this pump and haul has become it will be a big deal. And really, my suggestion is that pump and haul go from 3 days a week to 5 days a week for a 6-month period, which would run the busy, which is the spring through end of summer, and then possibly, most likely, going back to 3 days a week in the winter months, because there is not as big of a demand. Jill?
Thank
Jill,
you,
go
Ellen.
ahead.
I just wanted to say, I think it's a great idea, Jenny, that John perhaps dialogue directly with Ryan about his ideas, but I'm just wondering if we might, or some representative of us, be included in that dialogue so that we have a clear understanding of what it is that the community needs and what's being relayed.
And I think what we would do is, if we were looking at making the changes to the contract, we would obviously bring that back, especially because it'll have financial implications, and the committee will have to what those changes are, and if that's going to A, meet your service needs, and B, if you're willing to financially pay for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes. No, I don't think, I mean, I don't think that would be a problem for the community to raise the amount that it's going to cost if we're going to get quicker, better service on this, like having to wait 5 weeks for a pump doesn't work. So, Terry? Terry, go ahead.
Yes. Maybe we should start with some recommendations from the committee, and then Ryan can be spoken to get his input.
Jill,
Ryan
go ahead.
told me the other day. No, it's Mike here.
Yes, Mike,
I spoke to Ryan the other day. He said that it's 7. Well, actually, he told me 7 to 9 weeks, and I phoned the ACRD, and that's what they told me. 7 to 9 weeks at this time of the year is crazy.
I know. They just keep calling. Jill, go ahead.
Thanks, Ellen. I think you're right, Terry. We can give some recommendations, and they, because I can give a recommendation now because I've spoken to Ryan. Others of you probably have too, that he is recommending that we go to the 5 days a week. He's recommending that he will take over the scheduling, that people contact him directly. These are his words, and that he would take over that whole aspect of it and manage it. So it is a new sort of a way that it's being offered up, as opposed to other years. But I'm really interested in Ryan's suggestion and the ACRD's sort of feeling about it, and what that contract's going to look like. It's going to be, I think, quite different than it has been.
Yeah. Well, part of it too is I mean, there's all sorts of components in this. I mean, as it sits right now, it's first come, first serve, which doesn't necessarily always work, because people get themselves onto the pump out list, but really don't need a pump out yet.
Correct.
So there is that too. So he goes to a tank and it's only half full. It doesn't really need to be pumped, but it's first come, first serve at the time. So we need to come out with some options for him to reschedule around and stuff. And he does have some ideas for how to do this.
He does.
So yes, John needs to talk to Ryan. I can be involved in it too, because I talk to Ryan all the time, and just figure out some options. And because it really has to change. Like, something has to be done. Like, this is waiting for that length of time is just not working for people. So we need to try, you know, at least go to capacity 5 days a week and work with it from there.
Mhm.
You also got to realize that his contract comes up in February. He may not get the
Yes.
contract.
That's right. Well, for
Well,
whoever
we
gets
might-
it, we
but
need
I
a
mean-
criteria.
Yes, so you're right.
Hmm.
No,
Yeah,
we
this
need
is-
to come up with how we need it to run next year. It doesn't mean Ryan's going to get the contract,
No.
but we need to lay it out and realize that there is going to be a cost added to doing that this way too. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Jill?
Thank you, Ellen.
Jill?
Thanks, Ellen. John, can I just ask you, what your thoughts are on this conversation? And did you want to meet with committee members to look at a criteria as Ron says, it may not be Ryan's contract, but it is going to be a contract that would work for the community before dialoguing with Ryan, or what do you sort of see as going forward?
I do talk to Ryan quite often to do with lots of Salmon Beach things, and I am comfortable talking to him. And we have talked in the past about this issue, pump and haul. But I think as to what I actually do going forward, it's really it's up to my manager as to how I direct things and how my time is used. So I really have to give this back to Jenny, and however she would like me to spend my time.
Jenny, can we have a meeting with John Thomas?
Thank you.
We can definitely work something out. Maybe for just for efficiency, if you guys wanted, I don't know, do you email communicate as a group often sometimes? Because maybe, because I was thinking maybe if Ellen or Jill or someone just wants to take the lead on this and compile together like a list of notes, that would be probably the most efficient use of time. And then John can speak with, and also look at those notes, and again, incorporate those changes and look at the implications on that.
Okay.
Okay, Jill.
Good.
Jill, you and I?
Yes, sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, anybody else? Any other comments about? Okay, so, and and then all of the other contracts that are coming due this in the spring of 2021 too are listed here. So, I mean, those are self-explanatory. So anyways, so that is John Thomas's report. Thank you. And so,
if I may, through the chair,
yes.
One of the items that was discussed as far as contracts go was that, John, you might have to help me out here. We were just discussing this, but it was the equipment and materials contract. So if I understand correctly, and sorry, just trying to remember from earlier last week, that contract is basically a force account contract and sets rates that could be variable. Is that correct?
The contract outlines equipment costs by the hour, labor by the hour, and cost of materials per yard. So I don't know the history of why we have this contract with Deer Bay for this set amount. But I know when we were talking originally about replacing the pea gravel, there was some concern from the contractor that he had already has this contract with the ACRD. So I'm not sure what we're going to do going forward, especially to do with the road replacement.
Yeah, and maybe we need to either update that contract so that it, since the Salmon Beach Committee has approved the road maintenance project, right? So over the 5 years, we'll be doing that. So we might actually look at rewriting that significantly so that is more just the road maintenance program for the next 5 years. That might fall well under contract.
Yeah. Well, I understood that, and this is just me speaking, that contract is only in the case of anything under the value of $5,000. So like for him to do like, so like the playground, because it would cost, our cost to him would be $5,000 for him to, under 5,000 to do it. That's why he would automatically get that contract. That, I mean, I could be wrong. I'm just saying that's what I understood how that contract worked. So it was meant for only things that, you know, are the 5,000 or less. So
I guess maybe that contract might morph significantly with the new road maintenance program. So
Yeah.
just wanted to let you guys know that
Oh,
it might
yeah.
look more, and then force rate accounts, and we'll include, I like that $5,000 limit. We'll check that that's in there, or if not, add it in, because I think that's a good one.
okay. Yeah, okay. Jill,
Thank
go
you.
ahead.
Thank you, Ellen. I just wanted to say, Jenny, I think that's a really good point, that we've got a whole new contract direction to look at. So as it relates to Deer Bay, things will be different for the type of work that's coming out. Thanks.
Okay. Kel, do you want to speak?
Yes, thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Since the interior roads are quasi MOTI roads that the ACRD is responsible for, that we are paying for, I'm thinking that perhaps one of the things that should be looked at, and this is sort of directed towards Jenny or her replacement at some point, that in fact that if we're going to follow through with the maintenance, the interior road maintenance upgrades that are recommended from the report, that it go to it be posted or go to RFPs for the whole project and phased in over a 5-year period or whatever the term happens to be, and then that would ensure that it's being done properly and not. I know that Deer Bay currently is busy putting in holding tanks and lots and so on and so forth, and they've got other repair work to do, and they're also doing grading the exterior roads. So I think that if there's some way that we can change that, and I agree, change the letting of this contract, that would be more appropriate. And thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. That's something we'll look at in the future. So how to, I mean, it's a 5-year plan, that makes sense. So,
Yeah.
okay. I think we're at the end of this meeting, I believe. Is there anything else anybody wants to talk about?
While Cal,
No?
just hold on a moment. While Cal's there, it's not Salmon Beach, but I was trying to call you, Cal. That road just up above, I think it belongs to Hydro. It looks like that big hole is there. It's never been taken care of, and it looks like it's being undermined. I'm looking at it. It's starting to collapse. Almost half of the width of the road now. We were told that this would be done 5 or 6 weeks ago, and it's getting to a point it's dangerous. I think it's going to be undermined by the water. It looks like it's going to collapse.
He's talking about the spot on the
The
back
Hydro Road.
Kel, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for that, Mike. I've spoken to Ministry of Forest, and they have actually said that yes, part of that road it's the Barkley Main, but part of that road, the 2 kilometers out from Salmon Beach, where that hole is been forwarded to Hydro, and I think if you send information back to Ministry of Forest again, contact their local representative, which I think I've given his contact number out. Send in letters and say that you feel that this is collapsing and that nothing has been done. You'll get some reaction. And I personally will contact our forestry contact and relay that information as well. So that's the best we can do. If it's we'll try to get on as best we can. Thank you for that.
Yeah, the whole culvert is
Okay.
now collapsing across the whole road. So Okay. Okay. I think that's, are we done?
Think so.
Would somebody like?
I
somebody-
move we
Jill,
adjourn.
All in favor?
Second. Hey.
Thanks all.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.